Thank you. There's one more outgoing officer that we have to thank. Bill Doan has served this organization faithfully and well for nearly 10 years, through 2 terms as treasurer, through 2 terms as president-elect, and through the last 2 years as president. Under his leadership, ATHE has continued to reach out to other like-minded organizations, ASTR, USITT. He's pioneered a graduate education summit with MLA, AHA. He has nurtured and advanced our alliance with the Black Theater Network, including the beginning this year of a scholarship that allows a BTN member to participate in our Leadership Institute for no fee. And he has, at all times, been a passionate voice for the recognition of class and that importance of that concept in the Academy. Congratulations, Bill. Thank you, and welcome to the job of immediate past president.
Thanks, man. You're going to be great.
It's now time, my privilege to introduce your incoming officers for ATHE. Will the incoming officers please stand as I call your name? And if I could ask you to please hold your applause till the conclusion. Patricia Ibarra, President-elect. Catherine Irvin, Vice President for Advocacy. Danny Snyder-Young, Vice President for Awards. Lionel Walsh, Vice President-elect for Conference 2015. Jim Peck, Vice President for Professional Development. Barbara Parisi, Member-at-Large for Operations. You incoming officers have been elected to serve ATHE and its membership. It will be your duty to serve on the board, to advance our mission, vision, and goals, and to represent the members and constituents. Please join me in a round of applause to welcome our new officers. I would also like to take this moment to acknowledge our continuing members of the Governing Council. Again, I ask you to please stand as I call your name, and we can hold applause till the end. Terry Brino-Dean, Secretary. Nina Lenoir, Treasurer. Sonia Kuftinets, Vice President for Conference 2014. Trish Ralph, Member-at-Large for Finance. Bob Shanky, Vice President for Research and Publications. Alicia Tafoya, Member-at-Large for the Focus Groups. Bill Doan, immediate past president, and Chase Waits, Member-at-Large for Outreach. If we could celebrate them, please. We turn now to the part of the agenda that we have somewhat grandiosely called the President's Address. It is a huge privilege and an honor for me to stand up here today and to address you as ATHE's president. I'm honored by the confidence that you've shown in voting for me, and if you didn't vote for me, well, I'm honored anyway. More than I'm honored, I am humbled to take my place in a line that includes so many great leaders. Some of us are here with us this weekend. If you're here in the room, when I call your name, could you please stand so we can recognize you? Mark Heckler, Jill Dolan, Donna Aronson, Karen Berman, Suzanne Burgoyne, Steve Peters, and of course, Bill Doan. Can we have a round of applause for these distinguished leaders? This is my 18th ATHE conference in a row. As some of you may know, the number 18 carries a special significance in the Jewish tradition. It's the sum numerical value of the letters in the Hebrew word chai, which means life. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and say that ATHE is life, or even that ATHE is my life. But I will say that ATHE has defined and guided and shaped my professional life since I was a shaggy, smart-ass graduate student. And it's a special joy then to look out and see so many colleagues, so many of my collaborators, so many of my students, so many of my near and dear friends that I know only through this organization and that I've met along the way. I went through the conference program book last weekend, and between the people I'd worked with, been on a panel with, been on a committee with, shared a drink with, or a meal with here at the conference, it's something like 25% of the people here. And the other 75% I'll get to you. And for the graduate students and emerging scholars out there, let me add that a statistically significant percentage of that 25% are people who at one time or another have chosen to not hire me, to not publish me, to not come to my panel. And I mention this not to be all, how do you like me now? Okay, maybe a little bit that. But mostly to say that the one thing I've always valued about ATHE is that this association reminds us that those of us who are committed to theater and performance in higher education are not competing with each other. We are not competing with each other. We're cooperating with each other for a cause in which we all believe. And it's that cause to support and advance the study and practice of theater and performance in higher education that I want to talk to you about briefly today. Under ATHE's bylaws, the president-elect serves a 2-year term. So I've had a lot of time for people to ask me, why would you want to serve as ATHE president? How do you have the time? Which I understand to mean, why would you do this when you could be out teaching, doing research, making art? And here's what I tell them. I have a full bucket of water. I drew it from the well to slake my thirst, to wash my hands, to water my plants. But now my neighbor's house is on fire. What would you do? And I say, think of the service given by some of the great leaders that we mentioned before. I think about Jill Dolan, who was president-elect of this organization when I joined, and who used her critical intellectual skills to turn that back in on our profession to help us understand what we do. And I think about Mark Heckler, who was the president when I joined, who has now gone on to be the president of Valparaiso University and still returns to ATHE each year to anchor our Leadership Institute, thinking about the next generation. And I think about the late Marvin Sims, who before he was taken from us too early, was president of ATHE and the Black Theater Network at the same time. And I think also about leaders I've admired in the world of the professional theater. Everybody from Burgess Meredith, who was president of Actors Equity, Arthur Miller, who was president of the literary organization PEN, Jane Alexander, who was chair of the NEA. Now, I'm not in that league. I don't expect to be, but these are some of my inspirations. And these inspirational figures, I believe, weren't great because they held these offices. They served because they were great, because they would not hoard their water while the village burned. And once again, my friends, the woods are burning. In 2003, more than 50 million people attended a live theater event in the United States. The figure for 2010 was 45 million. The woods are burning. In 1975, 1/3 of faculty positions in the US were adjunct or non-tenure track. Today, it's closer to 2/3, and that number is increasing. The woods are burning. In 2008, states supported higher education at an average of nearly $8,500 per student. In 2013, it's less than $6,200 per student. The woods are burning. Can ATHE by itself reverse these trends? No. But we've got a bucket, and we intend to use it. What resources do we have, and how can we use them to support and advance the study and practice of theater and performance in higher education? Well, as the many fabulous panels, performances, and workshops this weekend have demonstrated, we've got expertise. We've got creativity. We've got 850 and more people who are passionate about what they do. We've got groundbreaking artists, insightful scholars, exceptional teachers. As theater makers, we have a tried and true means of reaching out to our communities. As teachers, we have the opportunity to develop and shape the next generation of theater artists and educators and audiences. As college and university professors, we have a voice and a part to play in the transformation of higher education. You all know this. You live it every day. And I'm not here to tell you how to do your job. I'm here to tell you that ATHE can and must provide a way to bring us together as collaborators, not competitors. This isn't going to be easy. It isn't going to be fast. ATHE, as you all know, is a large and complex organization that represents a diverse group of constituencies. Beyond the walls of the association, the field of theater in higher education is even more complex. From 1- and 2-person theater programs in small colleges, to PhD programs at research universities, to standalone drama schools, to standalone conservatories that aren't associated even with a college or university, to everything in between. For nearly 30 years, ATHE has been in the place where all of these constituencies are welcome, where faculty and students from around North America and around the world can gather to learn from and support one another. And we've done, I think, a good job at this task. In fact, when we survey our members, when we ask you to tell us how we're doing, the overwhelming majority of you report that ATHE is giving you what you need. Whether it's our conference programming, our journals, our white papers on tenure and promotion and other topics, our professional development opportunities, it's clear that to the degree that the people in this room represent the study and practice of theater and performance in higher education, ATHE is supporting and advancing the heck out of it. But what about the people who aren't here? And I don't just mean the conference attendees who aren't at this meeting, or the members who chose not to join us here in Orlando. What about the hundreds, perhaps thousands of people engaged in the study and practice of theater and performance in higher education who don't belong to ATHE? Raise your hand if there's someone you work with back home who doesn't belong to ATHE. Now, I asked for a show of hands not because I want you all to go out and hustle up new members, though, you should, but simply to show how far we have to go. And it's more pronounced than that. As of January of this year, less than 40% of all U.S. institutions that grant degrees or certificates in theater and performance studies were represented at ATHE by even one member. Our mission is not to support and advance the study and practice of theater and performance in a little less than half of higher education. It's time for ATHE to do more, to behave, if you will, less like a club and more like a government, to speak to, with, and for the whole field and not just for the people in this room. It's time for us to bring our expertise, our creativity, and our passion to bear on the larger issues facing our field. It's time for a bucket brigade. We must continue to serve our members, and we will. But we must also find new ways to help our members serve the field. In the past, we've done this through our advocacy efforts, our partnerships and affiliations with like-minded organizations, ASTR, BTN, AATE, KCACTF, Americans for the Arts, and more recently, MLA, NAST, USITT, LMDA. We should continue those efforts, and we will. But we also need to recognize that no other group covers the same territory we do. Scholarly organizations don't fully address the everyday challenges of producing theater in an educational context, nor should they. Theater festivals don't address the crisis in scholarly publishing, nor should they. Focus groups do what they do, and they do it, you do it well, but they don't speak to the whole field, nor should they. Only ATHE as a larger organization has the size, the scope, the resources, and the mission to serve the whole field, to support and advance the study and practice of theater and performance in higher education. Only you can prevent forest fires. As your president, I'm committed to finding ways that ATHE can become a resource for the entire field, not just the percentage that belongs, not just the percentage that attends our conference. In particular, I see us moving more decisively into the realm of data collection and analysis, into gaining a greater understanding of the full shape and texture of theater in higher education. Those of you at the front end of your careers know how important this is. You're facing an uncertain job market and a profession that is certain to undergo radical change over the course of your 20 or 30 or 40 years in the field. You deserve some hard facts about this situation, and ATHE can and should help you discover them. For those of you who hold administrative posts at your home institutions, you know that in the current environment, budgetary and political, that data is the coin of the realm. As income inequality surges, as public investment in higher ed plummets, colleges and universities are being asked to do more and more with less and less. It's not enough to be good at what we do. We also have to prove that we're good at it in a way that fits on a spreadsheet. Everyone in this room knows, in our heart of hearts, that theater and performance in higher education provides an extremely high return on investment for students, for the university, and for society. You've all lived it. ATHE can and should help you prove it. Or maybe you're coming up for tenure or promotion, or just trying to figure out where you and your colleagues fit into the larger field, why your work matters, how you can do more. Maybe you're ready to give something back, and you want to know where and how your contribution can do the most good. ATHE should be helping you figure out where you're needed the most, where you can stand in that bucket brigade. Finally, ATHE needs more information about the field so that we can better target our own strategic planning process. How can we set goals and plan action steps and even know if we're advancing our mission if we don't know where we are as a field, if we don't know the full measure of the challenges that we're facing? Now, this is not to suggest that the future of our field is all some kind of numerical balance sheet exercise. As Einstein said famously, not everything that can be counted counts. Not everything that counts can be counted. But we must recognize that in the next decade or more, supporting and advancing the study and practice of theater in higher education is going to require not just passionate advocacy, but passionate, evidence-based advocacy. And who else but ATHE can and should provide you with that evidence? Toward that end, the Governing Council has already begun to dedicate resources towards increasing ATHE's capacity for data collection and analysis. and that's also not going to be easy. Few things worth doing are. But we're already at work identifying what we can learn by mining existing data sources, such as the NCES, IPEDS data, the SNAP, Strategic National Arts Alumni Project data, and our own member surveys, as well as figuring out what information we want and need to go out and collect ourselves, because nobody else is going to do it. For example, we've begun a pilot project to analyze faculty job postings in theater and performance studies from the last hiring cycle, to find out how many vacancies are out there, what kind of credentials and specialties were most in demand, and so on. And so on. As these inquiries begin to bear fruit, we'll be sharing the results with you via the ATHE website, via other channels of communication. If you'd like to be directly involved in this effort, please contact me directly, president@athe.org, easy to remember. And if a representative of ATHE should come to your door with a clipboard, metaphorically speaking, I hope that you will answer. I hope that you will stand up and be counted. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy the remainder of this superb conference. Enjoy the company and comradeship of old friends and new. Share your ideas and feelings freely. And take this opportunity to refill your bucket. You're going to need it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.